Hello, and you're on board here with me. I'm on a 2004 Fatboy, 88 cubic inch. In front of me is my mate James on his Electric Glide Classic.
Oh, wow.
That's me exclaiming that the road's getting a bit narrow. James's bike has a twin cam engine, slightly earlier than my 2004. James is leading. He's a much more experienced motorcyclist than I am. He's been riding pretty much all his life. Whilst I've had a license for 20 years, I've not ridden so much, so I'm a bit more of a noob. There's going to be nothing happening massively exciting in this video. It's just some very narrow lanes and some sort of beautiful British countryside. You can hear James revving it there, and then me revving it there as we go under the bridge, like little children, just because that's how it is. So this is filmed on my Drift Ghost XL camera. I guess you can judge for yourself what you think of the quality. This was quite a cheap camera. This was 130 quid or 150 quid, I think, including the helmet mount and the microphone and all the bits. The reason I went for the Drift Ghost XL was it's so cheap. Car. Again, you can see my speeder there. We're doing quite slow speeds, appropriate to the road. The reason I went for the Drift Ghost XL was obviously it's extremely cheap, and because it's the XL, it's got a very long battery life. So the battery life on this camera is 5 hours. So you can use it as a evidence cam because it's rare that you ride for more than 5 hours. And even if you did, you could easily charge it at lunchtime to get more time. I've got a couple of gig card in here. It's not a massively big card, but it's enough for a day's riding. You can see we're respectfully passing the cyclists and the pedestrians there. Road's a little bit stony here. You can see the little layer of stones down the middle. So we're adjusting our speed. You can see I've dropped back a bit because I'm not as experienced as James, another pedestrian. Should both slow down. You'll see James is waving to most of these pedestrians and slowing down in the distance. But this road fascinated me because we decided to go for a ride, and we went from my house, which is near Basingstoke, and we drove down to the seafront at Southsea. This is after lockdown, and this is when travel is allowed for exercise, etc. And we went down and had lunch on the pebbly beach at Southsea, which was not very busy at all. There was pretty much nobody on the beach. There was a couple of, well, probably 10 or 20 people in small groups scattered across the whole beach, so that was fine. The promenade was quite busy, so we didn't stay for very long. So some people have different opinions for when they go for a ride. Some people like to just get to the destination and they'll sit on the motorway for an hour or two. For me, that's not really what it's about. The whole idea of me riding the Harley there is to have an experience and to see something different. And you can see from this kind of tunnel of green here, we're getting that. So what we always do is switch the sat nav to no motorway. See the van here stops and pulls up on the edge. James goes through. I give him a wave and thank him. I think, should I have done that? Did I have a little bit of a wobble there? But no, I was fine. I was just being very cautious, and I like to try to be really cautious. So yeah, we always try to take the back roads because it takes you to places that you wouldn't normally go to. The interesting thing for me here is that we're on these really quite large Harleys, and certainly James's Glide is pretty much the biggest Harley you can get, other than maybe a trike or something. And we're on the smallest, narrowest roads. I don't think, when these were built in the US, they ever envisaged, they'd be used for this kind of thing more than they'd be used for, two-lane blacktop, big straight, long American roads. But they work really well for this. For me, this is better than a sports bike. I can't ride a sports bike because I'll be donating my organs before very long. I need a bike that's kind of slow and handles badly, and the Harley fits that perfectly. My own personal bike here is 2004 model 88 cubic inch Fatboy. It's got Vars & Haynes Big Shot exhaust on it, standard air filter currently. I'm running slightly smaller number plate.
Jesus wept.
That's me commenting on the road deteriorating there into gravel for a little bit. Yeah, I've got a slightly smaller number plate than normal, but other than that, it's pretty much standard. This bit was just beautiful. Looking at the sun come through the trees. Bit of a cough. The microphone in my helmet is picking up the noise of the Harley really nicely. When I rode back, I took the microphone out of the helmet and just ran with the microphone on the camera, and it just sounds like wind noise and sounds horrific. So I've learned in the future to leave the headset microphone in.
Hell.
Again, commenting on the sort of sheer beauty of it. Cyclist. This was a lovely jaunt down to the coast. About I think it was 100 miles thereabouts. It's always slightly longer when you go on the back roads and don't go on the motorway. It's also much more fun, obviously. You can see here we're building the speed up a bit. For those outside of the UK, all these roads, believe it or not, are a 60-mile-an-hour limit. They're generally de-restricted, which is kind of crazy, I know. It's just how the UK rules work. These little lanes are generally 60. But we're not really hitting those kind of speeds. You can see sort of 30, 40, 50 depending. We're in no rush, right? I took the day off. James had some time today, so we just thought we'd go for a ride. For us, it's about the journey rather than the destination. I mean, it wasn't all like this. We had all kinds of different roads. These kind of little narrow ones were interesting to kind of show. I find it really handy.
Track.
Oh yeah, straight past the train track there. It's a shame a train didn't go past, really.
This is so narrow. You can barely get a motorbike along here, let alone car. Bloody hell, this is awesome.
So yeah, a little bit of excitement from there from me.
Imagine before the motorways were built that this would have just been so rammed. Can you imagine? Although I guess the A3's there. I think it's the A3.
And no, I still don't know if it is the A3. But certainly the M3 would be the motorway we were on.
Centre. It's amazing what's in the middle of nowhere.
It's really handy on my bike. You can see my shiny 1950s style headlight there. That's a standard Fatboy headlight. But when the indicators flash, they reflect on that headlight, so I can see if I've left an indicator on. Pedestrians, one on each side, both slow down, both wave, go in the middle. Well, when I'm out on narrow lanes, because I live in the country, when we walk, we always stay on the same side together because it makes it so much easier for someone to pass. They didn't do anything wrong, they're perfectly present. Out for a walk, no problem there. I always try to be respectful of everyone. Recently there was a lady with a horse, and I actually stopped and turned the engine off because the horse looked a bit stressed. My bike's not that noisy. It goes through an MOT. It does have a very free flow cat in it. Another car. The cars have been very polite, and everything's fine on this road. We didn't really experience any poor car driving. Everyone seemed to be friendly and good. But as I was saying, yeah, I can see the indicators reflecting in the front of my headlight, which lets me know if I left them on. But Harley has this great thing where there's like a weighted bob inside the handlebar, so when you indicate and go around a corner and level up again, it turns the indicator off for you, which is brilliant. I don't think my old Japanese sports bike had that. And the left indicator is on the left hand and the right indicator is on the right hand, so it kind of makes it easier to go along. Still going. You can see on the right handlebar there I've got a little clock. I mean, I didn't buy that, the previous owner did, but it's just the best thing ever. A bit of a cough. Yeah, you can see it's like a little analog clock in front of the brake servo. It's just so handy just for seeing what the time is. I always leave it on British summertime because, to be fair, I don't ride that much in the winter. Fully admit to being a fair weather rider. I've got a nice car if I want to go for a ride, a drive or a ride and it's raining, or if it's snowy or in the winter. So generally bikes are for high days and holidays. You'll see there I've got my my sleeves open to let some air in because it's 22, 23 degrees out there, so it's quite warm, just to get a bit of airflow in. Pedestrian and the cyclist. So I had a bug fly up my sleeve and was crawling around. I was saying, "Oh, please don't be a wasp! Please don't be a wasp!" Years ago I was out with my friend Tom, and he had a wasp go in his top and it kept stinging him while he was riding, and he was trying to pull over while thumping his chest to kill this bloody wasp. Nightmare. But yeah, luckily mine was just some sort of big fat fly that was buzzing around my sleeve. So you can see here James is more confident than me. He can see the road better than I can. I decided to pull in behind the cyclist and wait it out because I'm in no rush. I don't want to hurt the cyclist, I don't want to hurt myself. She's going pretty quick. It's downhill here. The camera doesn't show that quite so well. She's going downhill. You can see she's barely pedaling, got quite a speed up. She can obviously hear me behind her, and I can see she's getting a little bit stressed that she's, you know. And then as I sort of go past, she kind of says sorry, and I say, well, don't worry about it. I went slightly wide, as you can see, so I give her the thanks there and go past. Give us some beans. You can see probably up to, I don't know, 50 or 60 there on the speedo. Not much. Don't need to go fast. Yeah, this ride taught me that having panniers and a top box, I mean, I know a top box is deeply uncool, but they're so handy. We just sort of stripped off all our motorbike gear and put shorts and sandals on and just stashed all of our stuff in James's panniers and top box, which makes me really want to get panniers anyway. But then I started looking into it, and I found that to get some decent ones in that kind of really cool bagger style where the panniers sit low and sleek and have the exhaust running underneath, it's going to cost many thousands. The alternative would be some fairly cheap ones from eBay that sit slightly higher up, which would be functional but maybe not as pretty. So I guess the amount of time that I spend touring, I may go for the cheap eBay ones or see what comes up. But I don't think fitting the bagger style panniers on my bike is going to be the best solution for me. Certainly not for that kind of money. So the video's almost coming to an end here, the last sort of minute or so. It's just a really nice ride. It was just a great day out. Butt wasn't too sore after what, 2 or 3 hours in the saddle, I guess, in total. It was great fun. There was no near misses, no problems. We drove carefully. Gotta love a Fatboy. And here we go as we sort of open out now into more urban, and then we're starting, the roads getting bigger. You've got a white line, so we're getting back into sort of normality now, coming out of the narrow tunnels.